Adjunct Professor Moran, Microeconomics 112. An important takeaway of a discussion of monopoly is its lack of efficiency compared to pure competition. Why is monopoly undesirable? And we're going to see that it's not efficient because it doesn't result in either productive efficiency or allocative efficiency, and it results in an income transfer to the shareholders of the monopoly, and you'll incur higher costs. Okay, so we're going to graph a monopolist. Before we do, I want to reinforce the idea that often I draw this curve like this, but you can actually draw the marginal revenue curve through this price axis. So here's what I'm trying to demonstrate here is where the elastic and inelastic ranges, and proving that the monopolist will always produce in the elastic range of a demand curve. And you can find the elastic compared to the inelastic range from where total revenue is maximized. Because the monopolist sees the negative slope of the demand curve, to sell more, he has to lower his price. When he does that, he doesn't lower his price on just his next unit. He has to lower his price on all the prior units. When he does that, it's going to cause a split between price and marginal revenue. And at every quantity, price will be greater than marginal revenue because he's taking a discount on the prior units, which lowers his marginal revenue. His marginal revenue is no longer price. You have to subtract out the discount he's giving on prior units. So there's this inverted V going on where the price at any quantity is greater than marginal revenue. Now, although his marginal revenue is going down, it's still positive, which means that his total revenue, if you add up his marginal revenue at every quantity, his marginal revenue is going up. Even though marginal revenue is getting smaller, it's still positive. But when marginal revenue becomes negative, then total revenue has maximized. It starts to decline. So total revenue is maximized at total revenue is maximized when marginal revenue is zero. And if you remember from our discussion of supply and demand, the total revenue test is one of the tests of elastic and inelastic ranges along the demand curve. Find that point and go up to where the price is. And all the price quantity combinations on the upper left will be elastic. And all the price quantity combinations on the lower right will be inelastic. Because the demand curve is a negative relationship, this intersection with marginal revenue and marginal cost has to be to the left of that point, meaning the monopolist's price will always be in the elastic range, and that's an important takeaway. The monopolist will never set its price in any elastic range because marginal revenue equals marginal cost will always happen to the left of that intersection, because this is positively sloped and that's negatively sloped. So you have to go up here to find that. So that intersection of the quantity for the monopolist will be in the elastic range of a demand curve. Now let's graph a monopolist and see and compare his price quantity combination to a pure competitor. Graphical representation. So here's graph of a monopolist. Draw your inverted V. Marginal revenue, price equals demand. Marginal cost. This is revenue and cost. And so the monopolist is going to charge, find marginal revenue equals marginal cost, go down until you find quality monopoly, and go up until you find price. So this is going to be price monopoly. Now, a pure competitor is going to produce where price equals marginal cost, which is over here. For a pure competitor, price, marginal revenue, average revenue, they're all equal because the pure competitor sees a purely elastic demand curve. So notice that for a pure competitor, price pure competitor and quantity pure competitor will be greater than a monopolist. So a pure competitor is going to do a better job of satisfying wants than a monopolist because it'll produce a greater quantity at a lower price. Okay. Now, let's shoot a cost curve in here. The monopolist who's charging in the elastic range, let's assume he has a profit. Profits can be a long-run phenomenon for monopolists because there are barriers to entry preventing other firms from entering the industry. So in this example, here's the monopolist price, here's his average total cost. The monopolist, here's an economic profit that is sustainable in the long run because there will be no competitors to drive the price down. Also notice that even if this monopolist price were over here, you'll never get the monopolist price over here, and his price will never be equal to average total cost because of the split that's happening here. Average total cost is always going to be less than price. You're never going to get price equal to average total cost for a monopolist, and that's a condition required for productive efficiency, least cost method of production. Because, and you'll never get price of monopolist equal to marginal cost, because the best outcome for the monopolist is marginal revenue equals marginal cost, which is always going to happen to the left of this intersection, because these are negative slopes. So this intersection is always going to happen down to the left of this intersection. So you'll never get price equal to average total cost min for the monopolist. So you're never going to get productive efficiency. You're not going to get allocative efficiency, because allocative efficiency is price equals marginal cost. And again, because there's this split between marginal revenue and price, and in every quantity marginal revenue is less than price, then you can never get marginal revenue equal marginal cost equal to price, because this intersection with marginal revenue and marginal cost will always happen down on this segment of the marginal cost curve. So you will never get allocative efficiency either. So you won't get the mix of goods and services most desired by society, and they won't be produced at least cost method of production, meaning that monopoly is less efficient than pure competition, neither productive nor allocative efficiency. Because price is higher than pure competition, that higher price represents an income transfer from consumers to the stockholders of the monopoly company, and there can be long-term profits involved, because there are high barriers to entry preventing other firms from entering the industry, driving down the price. And as we just discussed, there will be higher costs. Another thing we want to discuss when it comes to monopolies is we want to distinguish between a price discriminating monopoly and a non-price discriminating monopoly. So new topic, comparing price discriminating monopolies and non-price discriminating monopolies. A non-discriminating monopoly is someone that has to charge the same price to all users. And if you remember from our discussion of pure competition, that at a current market price, all higher value users receive a surplus. Let's draw a marginal revenue curve, a price equals demand, and a marginal cost curve. Price and cost. Okay. So we're going to find marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Go down to a quantity non-discriminating monopolist. Go up until you find the price. Go over. And here's the price of a non-discriminating monopolist. Okay. These people, and I should have drawn this higher, coming from here. Okay. These are higher value users along this demand curve. They're willing and able to pay higher prices, but they don't have to, because the monopolist is going to sell to everyone at this price. You can't figure out who these people are, or you can't figure out how to charge them that higher price. This amount above price, below the demand curve, is a consumer surplus. Let's draw an average total cost curve in here. And at this price, at this price quantity combination, here's this firm's average total cost. Come over, and this rectangle is the firm's, whoops, not here, stopping here. This is this firm's economic profit. Okay. Non-discriminating monopolist. But a discriminating monopolist can tell who the higher value users are and can devise a way of charging them a higher price while still selling at a lower price for lower value users. Now, if a firm is price discriminating, that means that there's no difference between marginal revenue and price. The reason there's a difference between price and marginal revenue for a non-discriminating monopolist is that in order to sell the higher quantity, he sees this demand curve, he's got to lower his price to induce more people to buy it. But that means that his extra revenue is not equal to his price because he has to take a discount on all prior units sold, resulting in a split between price and marginal revenue. But a discriminating monopolist will not have to take a discount on prior units because he can charge the other people the higher price and these people a lower price. So we've restored this identity between price equals marginal revenue equals demand. So the split goes away. Let's draw in an average total cost curve. Okay, this firm is going to produce where price equals marginal revenue equals demand, right, this equality, and they're going to set that equal to marginal cost, which happens here. So as a result, we find that intersection, price equals marginal cost. Here's the quantity, here's the price, here's the profit per unit. Here's his economic well, here was his original. Oh no, this is not actually his original. All right. So then what's happened here is this person's charging these people all these higher prices, and this becomes his economic profit. And it continues to go down until this line, where price equals marginal cost. And so he's captured this, he's eliminated completely the consumer surplus. Because now people willing to, and able to pay that much have to pay that much. So this now becomes this firm's economic profit, this entire shaded area. But now what's happened though, although that's bad, the discriminating monopolist actually adds more output. If I go back to this graph and put it on this graph, if we eliminate this line and assume that this is now a discriminating monopolist, this gap goes away, he'll continue to produce down to this point where price equals demand, okay, no big deal, same for them, but also equals marginal revenue because he's charging the higher people the higher value. So that happens at this point, and what you see is the quantity of a discriminating monopolist goes up, but the consumer surplus is eliminated. Okay, what is an example of a discriminating monopolist? And you've experienced discriminating monopolists. Discriminating monopolists are kind of common. Well, price discrimination is common, more common than you'd think. Airlines, for example, charge higher value users more money than lower value users. A vacationer is a lower value user, so they want to charge the lower value users, the vacationers, less, and business travels a high amount. If the boss comes and says, I want you in Chicago, you're not going to say, hey, let's wait a couple months and get a discount on the ticket. So the discount, they will discriminate and tell who's the higher value user and the lower value user by the amount of time the person makes the reservation for it. The further in the future you make a reservation, the lower fare you'll get, and that pertains to primarily vacationers. In the short amount of time, the higher fare you'll pay, and that pertains primarily to business users. Electric utilities distinguish between rates for light and heat. And so if you're using electricity for light, you'll pay higher rates because there are no substitutes for lighting on electricity. But if you're using electricity for heat, there is competition from oil and natural gas, and so they'll charge people who use electricity for heat lower rates. Price discrimination. Movie theaters and golf courses. Senior citizens and children who have off from school, for example, are lower value users, and they will be given matinee rates. They'll charge a lower fee for the movie, but how to discriminate between them? Make them come when they have off, but when higher value users, like workers, are at work. And so people who come at night are higher value users and will be charged a higher rate. These are examples of price discrimination, which will result in an elimination of the consumer surplus, but increase the quantity provided by the industry. by the firm. Our next unit will see, well, if monopolies are so bad, resulting in neither productive efficiency or allocative efficiency, what can the government do if they regulate them to achieve those goals?